in the Caribbean. We suffering down in the Caribbean. And it's all because of stinking oppression. Repressive education for a chosen few. So many brothers on the corner, cause no school to go, no work to do. Crying sin kicks, the crying Nevis in Antigua, in Dominica. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the bone.
Shut alive, shut alive.
Colonialism went, oh that I know. But oppression never ever let me go. They granted independence few by few, but oppressors never ever left them to. With his imperialistic game plan, he monopolized the land. Now the people of the Caribbean ain't got much food, ain't got much land. The crying Binisha, Erie back in Grenada, in Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the bone.
Shut alive, shut alive.
The thing that hurt me most about oppression is the involvement of we politicians. You both, brother, to help fight oppression. Brother, get in there and join the bandwagon. You oppose the ruling party, you become an enemy, and you could swear to Jah Almighty. That's your destiny, your destiny. The crying Nasa in Bermuda, in Aruba, Martinique, St. Lucia. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the bone. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off the bone. Oppressors, leave we alone. Oppressors, come off we bone. Leave we alone. Come off we bone. Right. Oppressors. 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 Oppressors.
Yes, good evening, people. Once again, I'm DJ Morrishaw coming to you live and direct from the Gaza here in the Boogie Down Bronx. A lovely weather outside this afternoon, not as cool as it was over the weekend. And once again, before any further ado, I want to say another apologies for the technical difficulties that we had last evening. But like anything else, you know, we're talking cricket today. And you know, when you go out and you make a duck, you come back the next day, you put in a century, right? So, and if those batsmen like Hicks and Ivor hit you for a couple of lashes when you bowl to them, you come back and take their stumps. So I want to say a good evening to everyone there in our sister island, Queen City, Nevis. I want to say a special good afternoon to the man of the hour, the man Stevenson Manners. Good evening, Brother Manners. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing very well. I know you feel really badly about what happened last night with the technical glitches, but my mother used to say a bad wind never blows. And actually today, Thursday, March 9th, is exactly 1 month away from the big celebration we're having here in Nevis, the 50th anniversary, to the day when El Camido Willett became the first Leeward Islander to play Test cricket for the West Indies. So I'm very, very happy to be here. And I'm glad to hear that the weather in the Bronx is good, because I know you guys have been having some really cold weather up there. So I'm happy to spend time with you. The other thing is, since the release of my book on Monday, I've had 4 invitations for media engagement, 2 in the diaspora and 2 at home. This is the first one I'm honoring, and I want to applaud people like you and Chris Collins there in the UK, who do so much in the diaspora to stay connected to the homeland. Thank you very much for the invitation, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, I want to say even more bigger thank you for taking the time out to advance to this invite so swiftly yesterday. And you're correct when you say, a bad wind never blow. My grandparents taught me that as well. And there was a lot that was in the atmosphere yesterday that I could have simply say, you know, call off the night, let's do it tomorrow. But I am someone who, like, when I promise someone something, to live up to it. So though I was running late, I hustle and get home and whatever. And the app did what it had to do to make sure that we come back today. So no harm done, no damage done. It's just that I don't like to disappoint my online viewership on a Wednesday evening, because I know everybody look forward to this program on a Wednesday evening. So for me, it was more of a disappointment for my online viewership than anything else. But they're back tonight, and as you know, this program, once it's broadcast on Facebook, is there permanently. So the thousands and millions of people that will view this broadcast would not get any shortage of information this evening. So the way now we start off, Brother Manners, is this. People know who DJ Morrishaw is. I heard of Mr. Manners for years. I passed you back and forth on the street in St. Kitts and Nevis, even as recent as this past Christmas, and did not know who I was passing and saying hello to. I said hello, you said hello, not knowing who the individual really was. So in a quick synopsis, please let the online viewership know who is Stevenson Manners.
Well, I'm a Nevisian from Gingerland, and relevant to this particular discussion, an avid cricket fan and commentator. Never played it at a high level, but going back to the 70s, had a great interest in it and followed it all over the world. I have been a local cricket commentator doing matches in the Federation and around the Leeward Islands, and have been a correspondent for notable media houses like CMC Sports in Barbados and Sportsmax in Jamaica. I'm somebody who likes to commemorate and celebrate. I don't think we do enough of that in the Federation. So for instance, in 2020, when I saw that we were coming up on the 50th anniversary of the Christina disaster, I spearheaded a committee which commemorated that. And we had a lot of legacy out of that. We produced a booklet of the 50 most memorable pictures captured during the commemoration. There was a swim from the Christina Wreck to Pinnis Beach. 4 expats took part in that and got here in record time. And for the first time in 50 years, the central government on St. Kitts responded to calls to construct a Christina Memorial on St. Kitts. Most of the persons who perished reside at the Springfield Cemetery. A lot of them are Nevisians. Now, on Nevis, you've got 2 memorials. One opened in 2001 by the Van Samre administration, and one opened in 2011 by the Joseph Parry administration. And I figured there had to be something done on St. Kitts, because my maternal uncle, James Elliott, who was the first headmaster of the Brown Hill School and was a very rounded man, a cricketer himself, a musician, first man to offer baseball to students in Nevis, he is buried over there. And so we were very vociferous that a monument should be built in St. Kitts. It has been constructed. So your friend, Timothy Harris, is the first leader to respond to that call. Unfortunately, he and his colleagues brought the government down before it could be commissioned. And so we are waiting to see that happen in 2023. This is my first book, but I've written lots of articles for local and regional media.
Okay, great. Well, it's a pleasure being here, like I said, and the lines are busy already, and line viewership is already pumping up there. Let me say good evening to some folks. Jeff Pemberton, Alvan Brown, Joel Richardson, Kelvin Daly, Ingrid Daniel, Farrell, Annette Morton, the Beverly Morrishaw, good evening, how are you doing? Gwyneth Morrishaw, my baby girl there. Brother Ken Benedy in the Virgin Islands and his wife, Pam. Ruby Walters, Celine Tobias, Sandra Thompson, Annette Morton, Brother Eustace P. Hendrickson over there in the Houston area. How is the weather on that end? How is my girl there? De Francis in the Capistree area. How are you doing? Good evening. Timari Chapman, Clayton Davis, Adeline Morton, Ruth Lynn Brown, a whole bunch of folks online already. I can't keep up with everyone. So, brother Manners, good evening. And I must say, I got to tip my hat to you because we have a brother here in the New York area. I love him to death. One of our top penner, I call him the pennies. The man King Ginger. He loved to write a track. He loved to write a tune, but I cannot get him on stage willingly. I got to force him on stage. And I realized that he did a tune some time back about the history of Nevis and the cricketing world. And he said he wants the right history to be written. I guess you took him up on that challenge and make sure that you do just that. So if you don't object to that, I would like to drop this track from my boy Ginger in tribute to this book, and we can move right into it.
But before you do that, though, let me say good evening to all your viewers. I know quite a lot of them, in particular, Annette Morton. My greetings go out to you. She's the mother of Ronako Morton.
Oh, wow.
And she comes from less than a mile from where I'm located here in Gingerland. She's a Gingerlander too. Ginger is also a Gingerlander, probably why he chose that name. And we have been in contact several times this week because he, as you said, dropped that very special song in 1990 and won the Calypso Crown here in Nevis. Now, why is that instructive? When we grew up in school, we were taught about people from Europe and other places. He mentioned Christopher Columbus from as far away as Spain and Italy. And so Ginger figured that we needed to do things to record our own history. Alexander Hamilton, for instance, the gateway to Nevis, the Charlestown Pier, has a sign that says, "Welcome to Nevis, the birthplace of Alexander Hamilton." And of course, you know that not so long ago, a bronze statue was erected of him on the grounds of the Museum of Nevis History. And of course, Horatio Nelson, he was married here to a local called Fanny Nisbet. And those are the people who were celebrated. Our history was very Eurocentric, dealing with Britain and all that. And Ginger called us to action to begin to write about our own people. So definitely, I heeded his call. Good evening, brother Ginger. Drop the track.
About Columbus, Walter Raleigh and Francis Drake, but they write his story for Queen City they didn't make. So nations who have made contributions are bypassed and neglected, and foreigners dominate the island's history instead. So I contacted a historian to rectify that for me, because the history they teach in school means nothing to me. Nevis history must deal with Nevisians and not men from foreign countries. That's a disgrace, and I say that I am not pleased. So I tell him, Mr. Historian, listen to me. Write a few chapters about British cricketers. Jordan and Paris, man, they put the name and will land on the map universally. Put down their names in the pages of history. Write it. Entertainment, we're among the greatest. That is a fact no man will deny. Have you reached the top of your club, but all of them try. The late Jockam was the greatest masquerade. No other mask could dance more than he. It used to be fun to see the man shake up his big belly. And Lord Cam was the first Nevisian ever to cut an LP. Although I understand that he only sold 2 or 3. We invented the threat we call culture, a man, Calypsonian, Baha'u'llah the meek, created cadre to make rock and roll to the beat. Mr. Historian, listen to me. The best string bands in the Caribbean come from where? Tell him. And those folklore dancers are the best thing you'll ever see. Excellent talent for the pages of history. Men of great courage, men with unique ability, are easily found because they abound in Queen City. Little Zumba is a big-time drinker. This midget could drink with apparencies. He's the smallest big-time drinker in the West Indies. And Sammy, the dynamic dreamer, into the future the man could see, but his crazy dreams and schemes never become reality. And we have our own Christopher Columbus, brave like Columbus, who came from Spain. He sailed a windjammer through the eye of a hurricane. Back on again, Mr. Historian, listen to me. We have men here who we can compare with any great man from anywhere. And that ain't no fun, I say write it down so the world could see our achievements in the pages of history. Sergeant Van Samari, test selectors, rob them of their glory. Put down their name in the pages of history.
Yeah, man.
Write it.
You're the last of the last. The King Ginger. When the land was dark politically, this man played his part, so I want to see him down your name in the pages of history. that's a serious track there by my boy Ginger. And you have heed that call, and you are ready for the work. So the folks online are waiting patiently. Mr. Manners, give us the history, how this book came about, and the information that you want to share with the online viewership.
Well, I've always been in awe of the cricket in Nevis for a long, long time. And I knew that the history had to be written, but it was a matter of when. Let me give you 3 examples. Nevis is 36 square miles, 11,117 persons at the last census. We don't have great cricketing infrastructure. The administration of cricket is done from somebody's home. The Nevis Cricket Association has never, ever had a secretariat. But yet we have done so very well. We have produced so many players for such a small place with such a small population. Of course, Barbados, which is the Mecca of West Indies cricket, leads the way. 166 square miles, almost 300,000 people. They have produced a lot of players. Then there's a place in Berbice, Guyana called Port Morant, which has produced a lot of players as well. That's in Berbice County, the heartland of cricket in the Caribbean region. They've produced people like Roy Fredericks, who was a plumber on the Blairmont estate and played a lot of cricket before representing the West Indies. You've had Rohan Khanna, Alvin Kalichuran, Derek Kalichuran. So they've produced a lot. Then comes Nevis. Now, Antigua is pretty close as well. Antigua is 108 square miles, 3 times Nevis. You add Barbuda to that, 170 square miles, and Antigua has been doing pretty well. Think about it. Nevis entered cricket as a separate entity in 1949. Previously played with St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, where the tournament started in 1913. And then in 1940, Dominica, which was previously part of the Leeward Islands, became part of the Windward Islands. And so Nevis got a look in on its own. Within 24 years, we produced the first player from the Leewards to play for the West Indies. It took Antigua 61 years before it produced in 1974, March of that year, Andy Roberts, and later down in the year, Viv Richards. So we were a year ahead of them. Think of it, that your country has been playing for 110 years and is yet to produce a player. And this is no slight on the sister island, because we know they have had some raw deals. And let me take this opportunity to applaud Miss Claxton from Sandy Point, your neck of the woods, who played for the West Indies under-19 team. I say that to just show how Nevis has been punching way above its weight. Let's fast forward to 2006. Alan Stanford, the Texan billionaire, brought 2020 cricket to the Caribbean. He invited 19 teams from around the region. Nevis got to the final 4. On the way, we flattened St. Kitts with John Maynard at 37 years of age, bowling at blistering speed, defeating St. Kitts. And before that, we had defeated Antigua, 4 out of 19. And then let's go to Dominica. When it was announced that West Indies, Willett made the West Indies team, he was playing in St. Vincent at the Arnos Vale cricket field, the first class game ever played there. He was captained by Irvin Shillingford, who passed away on January 26th at age 78. So he was Willett's captain, and I've been following Dominica. In fact, if I weren't on this program, I'd be listening Q95, where they host a very good sports program with some very outstanding people, Ozzie Lewis and another guy who opened for the Combined Islands along with when Willett played. They are celebrating the fact that Irvin Shillingford is the only Dominica to produce a century for the West Indies. Dominica is 9 times the size of Nevis. Nevis has contributed 9 centuries to the West Indies. You have Kyron Powell 3, Keith Atherton 2, Stuart Williams 2, and Ronaldo Morton 2. And I just bring those scenarios in to show you how we have been doing so very well. Now, to write books like these, you need time and space. And so when COVID set in and I had a lot of time on my hands, we were on 7-day lockdowns, 5-day lockdowns. You go to the fridge, you read, you go on the internet, and I decided this was the opening I needed. And so a lot of the groundwork and the conception of this book was done under lockdown starting in 2023 as the COVID pandemic set in. So that's a little bit of the backdrop of how it came to fruition.
You know, as you speak, I am reflecting and see that you and I have so much in common because, as you may be aware, this program came about as a result of COVID, being locked down at the chapter with time on my hand. I figure I cannot be locked down and go crazy. I have to find something to do. Mm-hmm. So I decided to give a nightly update on what is happening and what's going on in quarantine and stuff like that. And during that time, some people took it as I'm cussing the government or make it political. It wasn't long after they realized I was bringing the facts and sensitizing people what we were dealing with and what was happening in the quarantine. So without even getting into that, because this is your time, I'll do my 2020 politics afterwards. But okay, I just want to say that some people want to know why I'm always so such an advocate for Nevis. Listening to you and what Nevis have produced in our islands, our sister island. It was St. Kitts, Nevis, and Gwilla at one point. And we all know the history of that. We're going to have that conversation next Wednesday with the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas when he joined me next week about the history of from statehood to the current situation. So I look forward to that conversation as well. But Nevis has been punching at its above his weight, like you have said, and I have seen Nevis get some knockabout at the hands of its own people. The citizens themselves were not showing enough interest in what is happening on the island, and the politicians them that we elect that's supposed to take care of our business. I can say to you that just as Willett has been the first division to play for the West Indies, I was also the first small island person, as they call me, to represent the United States Cricket Association. They call it USACA. For several years back in the 2000s, all during World Cup, I was the regional director for cricket from the Jersey and all the way up to the Northeast to Boston and those places. I was responsible for cricket. I didn't make it a big deal. I didn't want to blow my horn, but I have done a lot here in the the New York tri-state area, getting cricket in the public schools and steering the first Mayor's Cup that we played with the various districts here, the various boroughs and stuff like that. There's a lot has been done. So when I invite you here in this program after heard of the release from this book, I can say to you that it's funny how history repeats itself. It was my former corresponding secretary of the New York Cricket League, Mr. Weston Daniels from Nevis, who sent me the information. And I asked him to try and get your contact number because stuff like these, we need to give it legs. We need to promote our own and do the best we can for our people. So again, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time out at this short notice to come and have the conversation. You're speaking about Willett in this book. Again, I never met Willett in person until just a few years ago. And how I came to meet Willett is that whenever I visit Nevis, I have a friend who works at the firehouse in Nevis, Julian Pemberton from St. Kitts. And when I go to visit him there, I met this young lady turned out to be Willett's wife. And during the same time, they were supposed to be coming to New York, which they did. And I hosted him and his family here at my place, gave him a plaque and show appreciation. So his kids, I'm quite familiar with and the history. But you're in a better position to give the history and these cricketers. You're there, you're on the ground, you got the knowledge. So continue giving us the information.
Well, the book, in fact, is called The Father, Son, and Offsprings, The Enchanting Story of Nevis, 1945 to 2023, a period of 78 years. So even though Willett is a central figure, it goes further back than that. After World War II ended, cricket really took roots in Nevis. Before that, it was played on every village green, on the pastures and so on. But of course, people were diverted, making sure they can feed their children, etc. Because of course, the shipping lines were cut during World War II. And it was an exciting time for West Indies cricket. It was a sort of a rebirth of the game. And so there is a man called Johnny Howell. You must know Tessa Howell. She's on every media.
Well, she's on. Well, she's on right now here. So
well,
you can say hello.
She messaged me every day, and she wanted to find out like what happened last night and what time it's going to be on. The last message she sent me, is it 6 Nevis time or your time? So Tessa never misses anything. Now Barbados, which I said is the leader, has a man called Mitchie Hewitt. There's a Standard Kensington novel called The Hewitt in his Stand. Because what Mitchie Hewitt did was give formation to cricket in Barbados, brought it together under what is called the Barbados Cricket League. And that spurred players like Sir Garfield Sobers, Everton Weeks, Conrad Hunt, Claremont de Pisa, etc., because he helped to spread cricket to all the parishes in Barbados. Charlie Griffith, for instance, is from one of the most rural areas up in St. Lucie in the north. So he helped to spread the game. Now, we talk a lot about apartheid in South Africa, but cricket in St. Kitts Nevis has its own form of apartheid.
For sure.
But it was called discrimination, and in the regional level, it was called insularity. Because when the game started in Nevis, it was mostly the town boys. So Johnny Howell was a town man. He was a businessman. He ran a lumber yard on Main Street, just outside the Charlestown police station. And he was like the Clive Lloyd of West Indies cricket because he was older than the other players. First played for Nevis in 1926 because St. Kitts and Nevis used to play a tournament called the McNaughton Cup. And then when Nevis entered as a separate entity, he was the first captain. And he brought along with him Tessa's father, Spencer Howell, who was 18 years of age. And he was going on 47. And so he did a lot for the game. The pavilion at Grove Park, now E.T. Willett Park, is named after him. And whenever there was a need for renovations at the park, he would use his galvanized, his lumber. He took a personal interest in it. He took a personal interest in young players. El Camido Willett and Derek Parry, their first job on leaving school was with Johnny Howell. But he did something even more important. He helped to grow the game in the region. So he would get Division cricketers onto a boat, travel to places like St. Martin's, Statia, St. Thomas, Tortola, at his own expense to help grow the game because he figured Division players were not getting the exposure that they deserved. Because even though we were playing as St. Kitts, Nevis, and Gwilla, Divisions mostly got 12-man or 13-man positions. And so he wanted to grow the game in Nevis. Actually, when he left the cricket in 1951, he went straight into politics and helped form the first political party in Nevis to face the first elections held under adult suffrage on October 6th, 1952. So he did a lot for the game. And then the son refers to El Camido Willett. And after El Camido Willett, of course, that spawned 6 other players: Derek Parry, Keith Atherton, Stuart Williams, Carl Tuckett, Ronako Morton, and Kyron Powell. But in between the end of Howell's career and when Willett came on the scene in 1969, lots of things happened, and we can't forget those people. Theodore Ted Hobson QC, for instance, became the first division to tour with the Leeward Islands. The Leewards was going on a tour to Bermuda, and they took him along in what they called a goodwill tour to spread the game. And then in 1953, he was invited to Guyana to try out in front of the West Indies selectors. He was not alone. Austin Eddy, Victor's father, was there as well. Stanley Thompson, also from St. Kitts. Somebody like Dwyer Astafan, more in his time, that he would be able to tell you about those. And then there was a player from Antigua called Hubert Antonison, who was also taken to Guyana to try out for the West Indies team. None of them made it because, as I said, cricket was a class game and it had its own form of insularity and apartheid. And then in 1965, on the 13th of March, Bobby Simpson brought the Australians to St. Kitts. And Harold Walters, the father of Oscar Walters, a former Nevision player and president of the Nevis Cricket Association, he became the first Leeward Islander to take 5 wickets against the Tory team, 5 for 72. His dear wife, Clara, was just laid to rest last Saturday. So that's 1965. Then in 1968, Livingston Sargent, at 20 years old, became the first player from the Leewards to score 127 at the St. John's Recreation Ground against England, the MCC, 20 years of age. And then, of course, there were other events leading up to 1969, when Willett came on the scene at the same time as Vivian Richards. Cricket in the Leewards and in Nevis has never been the same since.
I could imagine that. I know the Antiguans, they love off the Viv and they do what they have to do for Viv. And for me, I'll be honest with you, the El Camino Wiglet Park that I see there in Nevis, I expect to see something better than that for my boy, yeah? So I do not know how you feel about it, but I think that park should have been in better condition for what Willett has produced for the island of Nevis.
Well, it's not just how I feel about it. The Premier of Nevis, Mark Brantley, promised in 2019 that he would spend $13 million to upgrade the park. Of course, COVID has set in and monies have been tight, so that hasn't happened. So it is in a poor state. I was hopeful that they would at least spruce it up for the 50th anniversary, which is in a month's time. The government has said nothing about this commemoration. I've written on Facebook. I called for March 9th to be declared El Camino Willett Day, just as happened in 2003 when Kim Collins became the world champion. I called for a bronze statue to be erected at Grove Park. And 1 week after, I went down to the Pinnis Recreational Park for the 1-year anniversary of that wonderful facility. And the Premier spoke there, and he announced that former Deputy Premier Malcolm Gishard, his birthday would be celebrated every year, and that a bronze statue will be built at the Pinnis Recreational Park. Now, I applaud whatever happens, because as I say, I like to commemorate and celebrate. I thought after that, he would say that, well, we are working on one for Willett as well. The person who donated the Alexander Hamilton Museum, and it's a beautiful structure. I attended that ceremony and I spoke to the gentleman. He lives on Nevis, has a home here, but he's originally from New Mexico. And I don't believe he would be averse, if properly approached, to fund a monument on El Camino Willett. But for some reason, we seem to think that all the politicians should be national heroes, for instance. We've got 5 national heroes, and they're all politicians. I think we're stuck in paradigm paralysis. Now, take Antigua, for instance. Antigua has 6. 3 are politicians, the senior bird, the junior bird, and George Walter, and 3 are normal people, Nellie Robinson, an educator, and of course, there's Prince Tacky, who led a slave rebellion in 1736, and the last national hero is the Master Blaster Viv Richards. On St. Kitts, just recently on January 28th, when the Buckley's riot is celebrated, there were calls which have come every year for a long, long time that a monument should be built there. Prime Minister Jew has responded in kind. So is Area Representative Congress Maynard, and I begin to feel for the first time that something is going to happen. But I find in St. Kitts Nevis, we don't have a good appreciation for our persons. When the Leeward Islands cricket celebrated its 13th anniversary, its 100th anniversary in 2013, April in Antigua, the president then, Julian Hunt, a former UN ambassador for St. Lucia and president of the West Indies Cricket Board, he said these words: "I'm not certain that we have truly appreciated and documented what Willett has done." That was one of the motivations for me to write that book. There's some people who say that he only played 5 test matches, he only took 11 wickets, and he didn't stay for long. That is true. But in my book, I detailed the circumstances of the day. Cricket selection was about I scratch your back, you scratch mine. And you're a small island, so you are backward. That sort of mentality. And the other factor which affected Willett was the fact that we played a test match in Trinidad in 1976. And India was set 406 to win. They made the runs for 4 wickets and broke a record which had stood since 1948, Australia against England. Clive Lloyd at that time decided, no, I can't continue with spin bowlers. He asked his bowlers, which included some spinners from Trinidad, how many runs do I need to give you to make sure you bowl out a side? Of the 4 wickets that fell, 2 of them were run out. And from that time, Lloyd decided that he's going to go to fast bowling and use the 4-prong pace attack, of which Andy Roberts was the leader and included people like Holden, Croft, Garner, Wayne Daniel, etc. So those were the factors which militated against Willett playing more cricket. I am trying hard to get people to understand what impact he had. He broke barriers down, both psychological and geographical. And the great Frank Worrell once said, we must look to the smaller islands, and that is when West Indies cricket will improve. So said, so done. It was when people like Richardson, Richards, Ambrose, the division players like Keith Atherton, it is then when they came on the scene that West Indies had its glory days, dominating for 2 decades.
You know, as I listen to you speak, pardon me if I have to go back a bit, because I am a real guy and I like deal with the realities of the day. And I know these governments who have done nothing for us within a period of time. They try to use COVID as an excuse, right? Mm-hmm. And you're telling me that the Premier, Mark Brantley, said he will do whatever to upgrade the park for Willett in 2019, and COVID came and money was tight. Well, according to my farmer friend or my friend or the farmer hog or the farmer prime minister, whichever way you want to call him, he said he gave over $400 million to the Premier. So money was not tight. Money was not tight. Something could have been done. But this is for me to talk about tonight. So I ain't gonna get you caught up in the politics. But the situation is much more could have been done in Nevis. The governments that I have seen for Nevis, I mean, I don't want to get into it now because like I say, it's for 2020, but much more could have been done for Willett. The Premier have spoken about all kind of stuff that should be done, and we all know is hogwash. You spoke about those guys in Antigua and wherever. During my period as regional director, there was a gentleman by the name of Greg Chappell. I don't know if you remember Greg and Ian Chappell, 2 brothers.
Yes, Willett got both of their wickets. He got Ian in Trinidad in the first series and Greg in Guyana. Those are the 2 wickets he's proudest about.
All right. Now, during my time as a regional director, Greg Chappell was in Grenada, I think it was, as a scout for the West Indies team seeking players. And you spoke about the town and country thing a while ago in Nevis. We had it in St. Kitts, and it's a problem throughout the region. Because what Greg explained to me, during his time in Grenada, the better players are in the hills, are in the countrysides, or wherever. But they're selecting teams from the city, players from the city area that is not as good as those players. So West Indies team will be suffering for some time because the better players is not getting that opportunity. I still burning inside of me where the West Indies is concerned, because for the life of me, I heard about all these stories about the other players from St. Kitts who didn't get a chance. But for the life of me, what went down with ex-man Livingston Harris, not getting his final opportunity, is beyond me. Yes. Again, you know, I don't understand it. Look at where West Indies is today.
It's part of the apartheid that I talk about. St. Kitts has not yet produced a test player, but it's not for not trying. Len Harris, Mike, the Calypsonian. He, Livingston Sargent, and Irvin Shillingford were three of the best batsmen in the Caribbean at one point in time. They came at a time when, of course, West Indies became world champions for the first time when they beat Australia in the Caribbean 2-1 in 1965. So there were a lot of good cricketers going around, but Barbados had the lead.
Yeah.
So much so that Barbados challenged the rest of the world in 1965 to commemorate or celebrate their independence from Great Britain. And they got bowled out for less than 100, making the other islands like Jamaica and Trinidad and so on wondering what Barbados was playing. Why didn't they use a united West Indies team? So it has gone on for a long, long time. But Mike Harris was a very good player. Then you come down to Auckland Marley Hector. Pundits say that he was good enough to play for the West Indies side. Mike Finley played 11 test matches for the West Indies from St. Vincent. He got the nod. Nobody is going to convince me that Victor Reddy, who was the best player of spin in the Caribbean, couldn't make the West Indies side, but lost out to a player from Jamaica. And the most compelling case is, of course, Livingston X-Man Harris. We picked a guy from Trinidad called David Williams. Bless his heart. He was batting at the other end at the Gabba in Brisbane in 92, 93, when Keith Atherton made his first test 100 of 126. But this man played 11 test matches, and he made 7 ducks in 18 innings. 7 ducks in 18 innings, but he was from Trinidad and Tobago. In the meantime, Ridley Jacobs from Antigua had to wait until his 31st birthday to play for the West Indies on that ill-fated tour of South Africa in 98-99, when the players revolted at a hotel in England, the Excelsior, overpaid. And of course, he made a century against South Africa on that first ever tour to that republic. And he went on to make 2 other centuries, including one in that match in which Brian Lara made 400 runs. And of course, that also further put back X-Man Harris. So there are several players from St. Kitts who were good enough and should have made the West Indies side. But the cricket apartheid, the discrimination, and the insularity has affected countries like ours because of our small size. Another thing which affected us is advocacy. Advocacy. You have to advocate for your players. I'm going to say something tonight, which is the first time I'm going to say publicly. On May 3rd, 2005, it was a week Monday. I was lying in my bed relaxing when I got a call from Monaco's mother, and I know she is listening. And she was in tears. She was asking me if I heard the West Indies had not picked Monaco to go to England. I couldn't believe it. I was just getting up. I went and checked my sources, and I realized that was right. And I thought about it. And the next day, I went to Grove Park and there was Willett. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a chat with him. And we went down on an old wooden bench and we spoke about it. I asked him how he felt and allowed him to vent. I produced an article that evening for CMC Sports in Barbados, where I said things that, you know, Willett, the first Leeward Islander to play Test cricket for the West Indies, was lamenting the fact that so many years on, we were still getting a hard time. You know, he said, we have gone back to the days before 1973, and I put those in my article. The next morning, which was May 5th, I got a call from Lance Whitaker. He was in charge of CMC Sports. And he greeted me, he normally greeted me, Sir Manners, Sir Steve. On this particular morning, he said, Sir Selector. I said, what do you mean? I couldn't understand. He said, well, you wrote an article yesterday, and this morning, the West Indies has added Ronaldo Morton to the 16-man team to make it 17 to go to England. I say that to say that you have to have people rallying for you. Antigua, for instance, had somebody like Tim Hector and others. Nevis had its own people. For instance, Hugh Claxton. Around the region, they quote Hugh Claxton, who was the most senior commentator here, along with Kennedy Simmons and Paul Southwell, etc. Whenever the late Van Samry played at Grove Park and he executed that beautiful cover drive, he would say, where are the West Indies selectors? Where are the West Indies selectors? As a matter of fact, Enoch Lewis, president of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, in his eulogy, which is included in my book, he talked about that because Van Samry was the first person who got close to the door. He played for the West Indies President's 11, February 11th to the 14th in Montego Bay, opening with Steve Kamash and making 26 and 40. So he was close. And Hugh Claxton never quite understood how he never knocked the door down because he was very, very close. The first division to play for a representative team. The point I'm making is you have to have strong voices in your country. Barbados had Tony Cozier, the most respected, no question about that. He could stay on the commentary box and pick a player. Rex Pereira was the same thing. I'm not sure that we have had strong enough voices in the Federation and in St. Kitts in particular to advocate for their players.
I actually concur with you on that because for some years now, I have been saying this, and it's what most of the Caribbean islands are using, something we call sports tourism.
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to the Premier about it, he might not remember, Mark Brantley. I spoke to Vance about it. I brought it to the various ministers of tourism in St. Kitts over the years, including Ricky Skerritt, about sport tourism. And one of the things that I wanted to do in my capacity as regional director for the USACA, which is for the United States, is that when I look at the talent, let me go back. I developed a relationship some years back with the Royal St. Christopher Navy Sports Club under the leadership of Austin Williams, the dancing commissioner, and the past commissioner, Ian Quealy, Ambassador Quealy. During that period, it was Commissioner Foy, who was the commissioner of police for St. Kitts Nevis at the time. And we developed a relationship where those guys wanted to take a trip across to New York, and we wanted to take a trip across to St. Kitts Nevis. So they first came to New York, and we returned the favor, and we was doing that biannually, back and forth, until Aston and Quealy drop off the scene. It seemed like they have lost it. But anyway, whenever we come to the Federation, the Police Sports Club is who hosts us. This year, when I reach out to them, I understand that they're going to the elections this month because I'm bringing down my team for the music festival this year, June 17th to July 1st. We're coming in to play a series of games and have some good time there with the folks. Now, because I did not get confirmation from the Police Sports Club as yet, I went a step further and reached out to Mr. Dennis the president of the St. Kitts Cricket Association to see if they will host us for that period, and they gladly accepted our request. So we will be there from the 17th of June to July 1st. Now, I said that to say this, everything that I have done over the years always include Nevis. And the record must show that even my club that I have now, the JefroyMorrishaw Sports Club, have a great deal of divisions. My deputy, my vice president is Melvin Herbert. We have Cardell Walters and a couple of other divisions who is a part of the club. And one of the things Melvin and I discuss annually, and I bring it up to these folks in my conversation, is there are so many good cricketers that finish with school, might not be working on the island of St. Kitts and Nevis. If we can get the assistance from the sporting department, the sports department, or the ministers of tourism, to give us even 3 guys from each island, or 2 and 3, doesn't matter how we get it. But if you can get 5 or 6 guys to come up in the summer to play with us here, to represent our federation, as long as they perform, they got the opportunity to be selected in other games. They could make it to regional cricket, they could make it to the 2020 tournaments they have in here, wherever. Richie Richardson and Commercial and these guys played cricket in Van Cortlandt Park with us. Got selected from Van Cortlandt Park to West Indies cricket. But so for some reason, when you sit and speak with these politicians in St. Kitts and Nevis, they cannot see that far. And I have an issue with that. So I'm glad that you're talking about advocacy, because some of them only could see what's in front of them.
Yeah, it's the vision for the sport. The West Indies has been given the mandate by the ICC to grow the game in America, because America has lots of sponsorship money, a vast population, a lot of Indians and Pakistani, which is pivotal to the growth of the game. And so a lot of players, Shanja Paul was doing something in the US.
In Queens, right there.
Kyron Powell was at one time, when he was away from the sport, a coach in the United States. So you have to have the vision to see where there are avenues that you should go down. And I'm not sure that that is happening at all in St. Kitts Nevis.
It's not happening, no. Trust me, I tried.
We talk about the advocacy. And this is a truth which maybe Kittitians will not be happy to hear. St. Kitts has a more stratified society than Nevis. In the early days, you had to fight the country town thing. Even when Willett was selected, for instance, there was an uproar in Nevis because there were 2 players, Wrexham Roberts from Zion and Alexis Brown from Brownhill, who had taken more wickets than Willett in the local tournament. And Willett had only played 1 cup match against Jessup and went on to play for the Nevis team. So there was a big argument about town and country. But I happen to think it was the best decision. It was a visionary decision made by a gentleman called Ed Atherton, who lives in the tri-state area. He's now around 82, 83 years of age. But the country town thing prevailed for a long time. Whenever I came to Warner Park, people would come up to me and say, oh, they picked this fella because he played for Newtown, or he picked that fella because he's from up the village, but there's a better player in their bake, where you're from, for instance. So I got a sense that the country town thing prevailed for a longer period of time in St. Kitts. We overcame it to the point that we have about 7 players, 4 are from the countryside and 3 from the town. Another player who was very good was Howell, I think was his name. Mm-hmm. And I remember he used to frequent Nevis quite a lot. He was a friend of Ronaldo Morton, because he was telling us in those days that nobody in St. Kitts looking out for him. He didn't feel that there were people giving him the push. So he basically came to Nevis to live. He was a medium pacer, an all-rounder. So I say that to say again that advocacy is so important. And you spoke about tourism. Nobody is going to convince me that Kim Collins, that amazing athlete who did things over 40, over age 40, that not many people in the world has done. Maybe the only other person is Merlin Otti of Jamaica. And I'm going to say here now, I know that the Prime Minister is a very proactive fellow. He has buckled down to work in the 6 months he has been there, and we're looking for new initiatives for you from him. If he doesn't begin to entertain the debate that you have to diversify the portfolio of national heroes. You know, they're very proud, very, very proud of the number of women they brought into the cabinet. When the Governor General was brought into force last Saturday, again, that was a recurring theme. Number of women in cabinet, Speaker of the House in cabinet, new Governor General in cabinet. So what are you trying to tell me? That no woman can be a national hero in St. Kitts Nevis? And it is about time that we bring some of our sportsmen on. And I'm advocating very strongly. I'll be disappointed if September 19th, 2023 comes and we are on our 40th anniversary. And Willett and Kim Collins, maybe they can't do all in time, but at least the announcement of a woman to join the ranks of national heroes of St. Kitts and Nevis. The National Heroes Act of 1998 says heroes should be people who improve the global standing of your country. If anybody can doubt that Kim Collins and Willett does that, then come and tell me.
But no, we are on the same page with that, you know. And up to today, I was speaking to a young man, he's in Virginia, and he was speaking about the ratio of the male and female with what the Prime Minister is doing and stuff like that. And I said to him, I said, big man, to be honest with you, the women have been left behind for some time, since Constant Misham and those guys' days. So I have no problem with the Prime Minister and his cabinet trying to bring women in the fold. But at the same time, when I was about to speak about younger people getting a piece of the action, because remember, we just came out of a cabinet secretary with over 80 years of age, you know. So when I was about to speak on these things, I realized, I think it was Wednesday, they announced a young man as the assistant deputy clerk in the
speaker, yeah.
Right. So, you know, it's only 6 months. And I've said to people, when they're saying to me, you went after the farmer administration and now what about what the Labour Party is doing? People, I keep saying to them, this is not a Douglas Labour Party. The Douglas Labour Party was there for 20 years. The farmer Hag Timothy Harris was there for 18 of those 20 years. Let's not mix peas and gungo peas and pigeon peas, believe all of them is peas. They got a different taste. The new Labour administration is trying to clear up the mess that they met and trying to find a foothold going forward. Everybody is not going to agree to everything. They're not going to do everything correct. They're going to make mistakes. But what I encourage is that people, just like what you're doing now, advocate, bring your ideas. Don't be quiet, and then when things don't happen, you say, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Speak out. Because when I come on this program and speak about things, some may say, oh, he followed with Labour, he cussing them. I was never in with Labour, so I can't follow with Labour. I'm not in with NRP, so I can't follow to the NRP. I'm not in with CCM, I can't follow with them. I only can speak about what I observe. And when I speak to folk nationally, regionally, and locally, I can come here and speak about my opinion, because I realize it's not just my opinion. I have already discussed it with other nationals, visitors alike, who have experienced what I have, so I can speak truth to power. I'm not here to lie on anybody.
That's the whole idea, truth to power.
You know, so I encourage what you're doing. And like I said, when Weston sent me that link there and said that your book is released and whatever, as a matter of fact, you're lucky you got 3 sales coming from him, you know. He said he wants 3 books. So
he has followed me on Facebook all the time. In 2018, I did a feature for Black History Month where I researched 47 centenarians on Nevis and his grandmother, Papa Hobson of Butlers, who would have been, what, 111, 114, I saw him post today. right now. The very day when I posted her would have been her birthday, and it was so amazing how it all came together. So Weston has been a fan of mine all the time. He follows me all the time, and I saw when he posted the disappointment that he had missed last night. But I know he is listening and viewing.
Yeah,
But when you talk
definitely.
about the advocacy, one of the things which I'm doing, I completed the manuscript for this book on December 31st, and then handed it off to my children to take it to where it is now. It's a generational thing. They did all the stuff, uploading it to Amazon, the negotiations, etc., getting the book formatted. And then my son, who's over there in San Diego, he put that little video together, which I sent you, with Ginger's song and some of the heroes, etc., etc. So one of the things I am doing, which comes to fruition on Monday, is partnering with the Nevis Public Library. And I want to thank Mrs. Paris and her staff. Because in May of last year, even before the book was near completion, I approached her and asked her to partner with me so that we could highlight some of the things in my book. And she did. I handed my manuscript even before it was published to the library, all of my pictures. And on Monday morning at 10 o'clock, a month-long exhibition opens at the Nevis Public Library. For the whole of Black History Month, that will be the exhibition. On Monday morning, I will present copies of my book. First person on Nevis to get a book will be Elkemito Willett. Second person will be Tessa Howell, because of the work her grandfather did. And of course, her father. He passed about a year and a half ago. I wanted to hand him one of the early copies because he told me about the early days of cricket in the 40s, 50s, 60s, until in the 70s, I had the realization of what the game meant, etc., etc. And so I'm gifting the book to Tessa Howell and also to the Nevis Public Library and the Nevis Sports Museum. And let me take a minute out to applaud Lofton Brandy. He was a one-term Minister of Sports in the Nevis Island administration under Van Samry. Lofton Brandy was ahead of his time. He did some things on Nevis which are indeed very remarkable. On March 29, 2005, he opened the Nevis Sports Museum. Andy Roberts was there. Teddy Griffith, the president of the West Indies board, was there. And I was able to speak at that forum. It has not grown in the way I expected it to be. It opened in the Cotton Ginnery Mall. Then the government said they would move it for renovation. It spent another 7.5 years in a location which was not ideal. And in the last 4 months, it has been moved to the smallest space it has ever been, this time on the ground level, so people could access it easier. I would like to see in a Grove Park or an E.T. Willett Park, when Premier Brantley spends at $19 million, inflation must have taken that up now, that on the ground floor of the pavilion at Grove Park, at E.T. Willett Park, that's where the National Sports Museum should be. If they didn't have that, I don't know what I would have done in this book to make this book possible. Because memories fade, people have died. As I said, there's no secretariat, so presidents keep cricket books under their beds in boxes once they leave office. And the Sports Museum was fantastic in bringing this book to fruition. He also did some other things like introducing the Palm Awards, about our boys choir, things we are talking about. And he was the first to talk about the Cricket Academy at the place where Willett honed his skills up at Government Road outside his house at Boko Park. So I will be partnering with the library starting Monday, the grand opening. So I'm inviting everybody to come out to that. There's a lot of memorabilia out there in people's homes. So I was able to point the librarian to places where these can be found. In fact, I carried in some stuff just a couple of days ago, picked them up myself. And just this afternoon, a fellow commentator, Earl Smithen, from Product Road, Nevis, but now resides in St. Kitts, He called to tell me that over the years, I know he liked photography, that he's been taking pictures over the years, and if he had known, he would have contributed them to my book. Now it's too late for that, but I've invited him to bring that stuff over to Nevis. We could set up a special table to highlight his work. So anybody who's got anything over there, it could be a ball that will use. For instance, in 1971, which I think is the year in which Nevisians really fell in love with the game and became a pivotal year in the development of the game, of course, followed by 1973. Nevis was playing against Montserrat. I was in church on that Sunday, upstairs at Gingerland Methodist Church, and my brother had a small Philips radio in his pocket, which had a single cord up his sleeve, and every now and then he would put it into my ears. At lunchtime, Montserrat were 101 for 1, with Jim Allen, their best batsman, at the wicket. After church, we didn't even bother to eat any food. Our father rushed us to the park as young boys. And when we entered the park, a second wicket fell. Willett bowled out Montserrat on that day for 113. Some people say 114, where it's difficult to find the books from those days. But Willett at lunch was no wicket for 29 runs. He finished with 8 wickets for 31 runs. He took 2 wickets. He took 8 wickets for 2 runs. Never ever done before or since in the Leeward Islands cricket. And that's where the game took off. If somebody has that ball, for instance, that would be a very nice addition to the museum. I'll give you another example. I referred earlier to the 98-99 tour of South Africa. The West Indies, because we're a black place, were invited to tour South Africa as the first international team because we were the exciting players in the world. Nelson Mandela had become president 4 years earlier. But then the players went up to London, to Heathrow, to make their flight to South Africa and revolted about pay. The team was led by Brian Lara, and also his vice captain was Carl Hooper. President Pat Rousseau had to fly from Jamaica to try and calm things, definitely wanting the tour to go on. Clive Lloyd was already in South Africa making preparations for this tour. He had to fly back to England on British Airways with the South African President Ali Bakr to convince the West Indies players that you can't be fighting about pay when a whole nation of black people are here waiting to see their heroes. They brought with them, Ali Bakr brought with them a letter which was signed by an anti-apartheid activist, a professor, appealing for the players to come to South Africa. This is history making. People want to see you. Nelson Mandela would like to meet you. And a private copy was delivered to each player. Stuart Williams was a member of that team. There was discussion with the West Indies Cricket Board that if these guys, Hooper and Lara, are not serious, Stuart Williams will take the team to South Africa. I will die to see that letter because I believe he must be the only division who has received a personal letter signed by Nelson Mandela. As a matter of fact, Paul Newman of the Daily Telegraph in England wrote an article which said, imagine people got in trouble for going to the Republic because, you know, the players who went there in 82, 83, 84 got banned for life, including Derek Barry. Now that the country is open, people had to beg these players to go to South Africa to play in front of their scores of supporters and to celebrate with Nelson Mandela, who in May 10th, 1994 became the first Black president of the Republic. I would give anything to see that letter which Mandela wrote to Stuart Williams. That should be in the Museum of Davis history.
You know, that's some information to give out there, brother. As I listen to you speak, a couple of things come to mind, and I just have to vent, because as you say, advocacy is important. If you don't speak it, people would not know the efforts that has been made. And maybe someone out there in your, no matter where in the world they are, would hear the conversation. I just got a message there on the thread all the way from Morocco, asking if I can send them your number. So expect a call from.
Is that Ian Queely?
Expect a call from. Expect a call from Morocco. All right.
Okay.
You have folks all across the globe that is listening to this live feed, and I just want you to know that don't take things lightly, because people out there listening, and basically they will help if they can, or they might know someone who can help. So it's good to speak up. As we speak about sports tourism, I just went back in my WhatsApp. In 2017, I got a call from a young lady by the name of Andrea, who was a police in St. Kitts. She told me that she used to score and stuff, and she loved her cricket, and she was following the cricket in Antigua. She spoke about a young man from my community by the name of Terrence Ward. And I should see what I can do to help him and stuff like that, since I was so big in the cricket in the USA. So I knew he was going down to St. Kitts to again, hosted by the Police Sports Club. So I did reach out to Mr. Terrence Ward. Turned out that not only he's from my community, his father and I is a very good friend, a gentleman by the name of Charles from Newton Ground. After seeing his performance for myself, because he played for my team, whenever I travel to the various islands, we have folks who are honorary players of my team. So they play with me wherever I tour. I reached out to someone at the sports department at the time in 2017. I sent them a WhatsApp asking them to assist this gentleman in getting a visa to try get him across to New York, because he will get a faster push from this side than down in those areas. This is 2023. I'm still waiting for the assistance from that person.
Yep.
But
yep.
I think you know what's going on with Terrence Ward now. He got a contract with some team, I guess, in Barbados or wherever they travel in the region there. But that is not enough. This guy, the quality of player that he is, he should have been pushed further.
Exactly.
You know, and those are the things you're speaking about. There's another gentleman back in September, October of last year. He saw me at the church where the Prime Minister was here during the pushing and hugging to take pictures with the Prime Minister. And he said to me, Mr. Morrishaw, I want to ask you a question. I say, yes, go ahead, what's up? He said, is there anyone you can recommend to be an unsung hero for St. Kitts Nevis? And I look at him, I say, repeat the question you just asked me. And he repeated it. I said, okay, let's go back. Look at where we were during COVID. Look at these 3 individuals that got arrested during the Independence Day. Look at the people that was tear-gassed. Look at everybody who was silent because they're afraid of whatever. DJ Morrishaw reached out to the various ministers of government, was unsuccessful. The only person pick up that phone was Vance Henry. I tried to reach our ambassador here at the UN, the patch-up fella there, and Alva. They refused to take my call. DJ Morrishaw decided that he's going to go down to the mission and make a statement. Other folks joined him. He then came down to St. Kitts and tried to bring some attention to what was going on down there. He was blocked by the police, not given a permit. He marched on his own. He came back and he applied. He got a permit. They still try to block him from doing the things he's doing. I said, look at what happened now. That government is no more. There's a new government in place because I decided to stand up. I did not change the government on my own, but I brought attention to the general public. Aren't I unsung hero quality?
Yeah, I followed all of that. I followed you all that time.
Right? He said, you know something, Mr. Morrishaw? I never thought about it that way. But you're correct. I said that to say this to your brother Manners. You just spoke about being recognized for Kim Collins and Willett and a woman. Well, I'm saying the same thing about you and a brother. You should be recognized. You are an unsung hero. And people need to understand that the kind of cloth that we cut from is not a regular piece of cloth, you know. It's a crocus back cloth we cut from. Hard to destroy. So, Brother Manners, we've been talking for a while. I am going to drop this track here by Swallow, speaking about Brother Willett, and give you a chance to have a sip. And we're going to come back to the conversation. So stand by.
Definitely. Sure.
Willett, help with me though, Willett, help with me though, Willett. This unspoken division is really a man amongst men. The little left and spin bowler show the selectors he's the master. Congratulations from all Antiguans, big and small, old and young, no exception. We do hope that you'll do your best in all of your tests. With heart and soul, congratulations. His performance in bowling, everything in writing. Don't talk about feeling, he just do his thing up in batting. Anytime the spectators feel sad, the little fellow does always make me glad. Always carry a smiling face that memories can't erase. Congratulations from all Antiguans, big and small, old and young, no exception. We do hope that you'll do your best in all of your tests. With heart and soul, congratulations.
The Flying Swallow.
It's a pleasure to see the fella. What a splendid bowler. When the pitch is biting, he just have the batsman fumbling. Every man does be on the heel when the fella come out on the field, smiling, laughing all the way. That does make our cricket game. Congratulations from all Antiguans, big and small, old and young, no exception. We do hope that you'll do your best in all of your tests. So with heart and soul, congratulations.
Yeah, that's the sound of this late, great Flying Swallow singing congratulations to our great man there, Willett, out of Queen City, Nevis, sister island in the Federation. They have St. Kitts, Nevis. You know, Brother Willett, as we speak, I cannot, Brother Manners, Brother Manners, as we speak, I have Willett in my thought because I have something to say to Willett. While we're speaking, there are some things that I have in the pipeline here, so I might as well put you on notice and hopefully you can fit in the schedule. I spoke about the sporting department earlier. It's now under a new minister, and I think they're trying to do things hopefully for the better, not the past. Also, Carnival committee chairman there, the minister Samuel Duggins. I had a meeting with him just before I left the Federation. And one of the things I spoke to him about is the past where Carnival just start promoting in September, November when they remember. At their Thanksgiving dinner, some of them remember we have Carnival in December. And I spoke to him about the various artists, whether soca artists, calypso bands and stuff like that we have in the diaspora that are not getting a chance to participate in the Sugar Mass, even though they want to. And he asked me to send him an email with my proposal and stuff like that. I have not done so, but I have put some stuff in place temporarily for September 3rd, which is a Sunday afternoon. Why September 3rd? Because that is the greatest time of folks from across the globe descend and the New York area.
Oh, okay.
And
Labor Day.
Labor Day weekend. And I look at it as most flights come out of St. Kitts on a Saturday. So if I put it on the Sunday afternoon, it gives folks a chance to fly out on Saturday and fly back home on Tuesday and not being out too long. So I am officially extending an invitation to you for that time. So if you can make yourself available, because what we are doing this year is something that I dubbed. It's called the Diaspora Sugar Mass 52 Cultural Review. And why I use the word cultural? Because we're doing everything. We're doing music, we're doing cricket, we're doing Queen Show, we're doing Macajumbies, we're doing masquerades, we're doing whatever. And all of the Calypsonians and soca artists here in the region already accepted the offer. So we have a base to work with. As of now, tentatively, we have it set for the Eastwood Manor. But I'm trying to get an outdoor area big enough to accommodate the event. I'm also thinking about rain. I don't want something like this to be rained out. So I might just stick with it at the Eastwood Manor just in the event that there's rain. It doesn't stop us from doing it, since it's something to try and promote the 40th independence celebration, the 40th year of our tie with Taiwan and these folks. It's a big year for us. So, and with what you're doing here, it will come in nice to have you in our midst. And why I use the name With It, pardon me, is because I also have to reach out to him to see if he will be available to join us for that spectacular event. I have his numbers. Yeah, I have his numbers. I have his wife's numbers. I have his wife's numbers. So I'll reach out to him. But we are trying to do something as a collective unit. St. Kitts Nevis, and not just St. Kitts Nevis. The Anguilla gone their way. I have my ties in Anguilla. So I'm also reaching out to my folks in Anguilla that we could have a lovely Labor Day event this year. So it's still in the making, but I can say it now because I received commitments from the artists to participate. So I can say to you if you can make yourself available. I'm pretty sure, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that our Prime Minister, Foreign Minister, the Tourism Minister for St. Kitts and Nevis and them, I hope they could make it. But if they can't, we can do it without them, because it's not about the politics. It's about bringing people together and try to market and network. Bring our people together and network. Because I know from this, it can go into something bigger.
Yes.
I don't carry the name ambassador. They say I didn't get what I want. So I do it on my own.
You are an ambassador, my brother. You are an ambassador, and somebody really, truly appreciate.
Definitely. So I really appreciate that. And we have another ambassador, I'm trying to find his track here. I play Swallow song there, and Weston say he first time he's hearing the song from Swallow. Well, I wonder if he heard the one from Baha'u'llah.
Well. Let me tell you a little thing here. I was on the radio program, a program called The Good Old Days on 2020 Vision Radio. We also played the Swallow song, and some people in the studio said they'd never heard it. Just about 2 weeks ago, I was at the library planning with the librarian, and we had to call Baha'u'llah on a matter. And he said, "Do you know I have a Willett song too?" And I was not aware. I'm aware of most things, but I wasn't aware of that. And so he started to sing a bit of it. And between Miss Paris and Baha'u'llah and myself, we said, why don't we record it? because we're going to have a music segment, the words of songs, a tribute to Willett, etc., at the exhibition. And yesterday we went into the studio as Bahola recorded one song to Willett. And then there's another song called Bounce, Big Bird Bounce. Lipton Griffin, the fastest bowler ever to play for Nevis. He was a policeman. His picture is in my book as well. And we recorded that one in a studio today as well. And I was there sitting on a couch listening to Bahola. And he said, you wanted me to do the backup vocals. Never ever did that before. And he pulled me from the seat. One take. I was supposed to be, mimicking the crowd with my background vocals. So I'm on that track as well. We're going to have that track from the studio completed on Saturday, but I know you got a clip there and you're anxious to drop it. So let's hear from Bahola the Meek.
Yeah, this one for my book.
Even Swallow's song was 74.
Yeah.
And he wrote the song on Willett before Willett made the side because they were giving Trinidadians all the privileges. So he wrote a song even before Willett was selected. He has redone it to reflect, I think, once the selection was made. So you've got, I think, one verse there. Let's hear it.
Yeah, just one verse.
The whole nation was mad when the news reached Trinidad that the West Indies team did not include Ali or Joe Madine. Though they forget ability, they acting insular because they pick Willett, they master check the man's performance, and you see damn well deserve a chance. Who is the greatest bowler in shell cricket? El Camido Willett. Who is the man who bowled good on any wicket? El Camido Willett. And who is the bowler who never failed yet? El Camido Willett. And still they ain't bring him in to the West Indies team just because the man come from a small.
Yes, man. Well, Western here feel bad that he did not know the song because he said if you don't know it, then he ain't supposed to know it either. You are the librarian and the historian.
He always says that.
But it's real good that you took the time out and come up with this information. I know the division especially, but the entire federation and the region will appreciate what you have done here. I appreciate you, and I look forward to continue bringing your information as it becomes available. Any further stuff you want to bring from the book, or you want them to wait until they read it? Folks online, they're gravitating to your conversation.
Yeah, well, in terms of the invitation, you've said it about 10 times. Happy that you've been able to make time. I'm always available. I don't hold my information, I share it. There's some people who said to me that I'm giving out too much information about the book. It's all about sharing. There is a lot more that I haven't spoken about. And the book is 201 pages, 22 chapters. There's a chapter dedicated to each of the 7 cricketers, but I left no stone unturned. For instance, we know that 21 players were banned for going to South Africa in 82, 83.
Right.
And it has been a taboo subject over the last 40 years. Nobody wants to talk about it. I discuss the pros and the cons of that, and I come down on one side. There is a very important book called Beyond the Boundary, written by C.L.R. James, which is regarded as the best sports book ever written in the Caribbean. There are a lot of people who feel that the guy should not have gone to South Africa. C.L.R. James believed that at all material times, there should be constructive engagement. And I hold that same view. For instance, how many people know that in 1959, Frank Worrell had planned, or the West Indies had planned the tour to go to South Africa? It was aborted, and C.L.R. James feels that was a mistake. He wanted the Black people in South Africa to see Sobers and Kanai, etc., etc. I am of the view that going to South Africa helped to open the eyes of the world. We know those players have had a hard time. I personally don't believe they went to uphold apartheid. Many of them, like Derek Parry, was out of work, and they were simply going to ply their trade. Now, there's the other side where Viv Richards was offered a blank check, and he turned it down. But his circumstances were totally different. And I believe that the majority of these players, because we had no cable television came to Nevis in 1988. It is when they saw what the backlash was. Some of them said that they were going to jump off the plane in Miami. But when you have a guy like, say, Derek Parry, who cricket was his life, and that was taken away by certain circumstances, they wanted to go and ply their trade. Bottom line is, I have looked at the pros and the cons of that, because I think it's a discussion which needs to continue. We know in Jamaica, the captain of that team, Lawrence Rowe, the Jamaica Cricket Association offered to name a stand after him. And when it was, I think it was already named, or it was about to be named, and they retracted that. So it is an issue that we have to look at very closely. I don't think that 40 years after, we should still have these players as outcasts in our society. If Nelson Mandela could forgive F.W. de Klerk, who was the last white president of South Africa, and all those others, then I think we could too. As a matter of fact, de Klerk died, and when Nelson Mandela became president, one of the first things he did was to get on a helicopter and go to the home of the wife of the last white president of South Africa and have tea with her. That was an action which showed compassion. We have to forget, well, don't always forget, but we have to forgive. And I think 41 years after all that happened in South Africa, we need to take a fresh look. And I did that in my book.
You know, listening to you, I am laughing on the inside, because some folks, when I said to them that with everything that I would say on this program weekly about politician, including my good friend here, the current premier, the interim premier, Mark Bantley, they want to know how I could love someone and still speak about them. And it's simple as this. According to the teaching of my grandparents, right? You should be able to tell someone how you feel, or let them know where they've done wrong to you without hating them, stop talking to them and having this kind of, my heart is too small to carry them kind of hatred, right? Mm-hmm. And I realize there's something that is going on in our federation. It's all over the world. But I like to tell people I deal with St. Kitts Nevis. I could change things within that small nation. I can't change nothing in America. America is a different ball of wax. I'll be dead gone before any changes here. But I want to believe I can make some changes in our beloved federation when I speak to people. And if you put up yourself to be a candidate for politics, you should know that you put up yourself to do the work of the people, follow the Constitution and the laws. And if you are not doing according to the will of the people, any one of us has the right to come and say something to you. And if you're unreachable, then thank God to the farmer hog, I got this medium to come and speak to you publicly. And that's what happened to the farmer hog, you know. Mm-hmm. He keep putting me off to meet with me over something that it was of national importance. It took 2 years, and I tell him, okay, I'll speak to the next prime minister. I'm going to deal with you in the public. I say, I will deal with you. I'll speak to the next prime minister. So this song here, brother Manners with Swallow, My Country First and Then Man. I'm going to drop this track and give you an opportunity to have your final say if you want, or if you want to stick around, it's fine. But I cannot close on this program tonight without going to my 2020 politics, you know, because there's some unfinished business I have there. Dwyer has a very lovely commentary from yesterday, speaking to the facts of what's happening. So it will be bad of me not to play Dwyer's commentary and not to deal with the matters at hand. So stand by here. The King Swallow.
Well, before you go to Swallow, though, one request. this project has been an all of family project. My wife has been very patient while we put this together, long nights, jumping up sometimes when thoughts come to me. My daughters have been the one who dealt with all the Amazon stuff, and my son is a mechanical engineer over there in San Diego, so he's 3 hours behind. Took time out to put together this video, which I sent you, 1 minute and 50 seconds. If you have it, after you deal with the other stuff, the swallow and so on, I can't disappoint him. When I checked last, it had 450 views. I want the people to see him and feel it.
The only issue with that is that in order for me to I would have had to upload that into the system
okay.
before I get started, because it's on my phone. I did not download it into the system.
Oh, yeah. All right, no problem.
So
no problem.
I'm sorry about that, but definitely I'm pretty sure there's a great deal of people have to be working with you to make this book possible. And
Yes.
you'll have the opportunity to say thanks to them. As a matter of fact, as we online here, there are folks putting messages in the chat here. There's Jetty Taylor, I think, just put something where she went on Amazon to check, and I think the book is $29.99. That's the cost?
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, so she said she ordered hers already. She will be ordering hers tonight. So we'll have a chance to have that chat in a bit, just right after Swallow.
Yeah, okay.
Cool. Yes, My Country First by the Flying Swallow. The Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. We just have to do our best to promote our islands. I'm speaking to the man, Stevenson Manners, author from the island of Queen City, Nevis.
I am not here to ridicule, not to destroy, not to divide, not to curse and accuse. My intention, I am stating clear. I will struggle and fight for my country, state over fear. It's better thing than to sing about than to come the politician. I can't be mad and succumb to pressure and say the thing that is wrong. So if you love this country and have it at heart, don't fall on nobody and rip it apart. Contribute to this land for a much better condition should be the pride of every man. Let me hear you sound your voice for the land. If you love this land, get up and show the world where you stand. This is our land. Now the country needs you more than before. This is our land. Where you want to stifle the country for? If you love this land. I hate anything that resembles corruption. I hate anything that resembles depression. I hate anything that will make this country fall. So rise and shine when the country duties call. Let me hear you sound your voice for the land. If you love this land, get up and show the world where you stand. This is our land. I never sing anti-government song and cuss the country where I belong. It is my country first and then mine.
Lyrics for the Swallow. Light it up, light it up, light it up. Queen City, Nevis. Queen City, St. Kitts.
I realize that some will disagree, but don't vex with me, it's just what I see for my philosophy. So don't be the hands to destroy and hurt. Though tough it might be, let your country first be first. It is the duty of everybody to defend the country's right. The recollection of my ambition to defend it all my might. Don't mess with our freedom, don't mess with our land, don't mess with the future and stop production. The emphasis is not who, but how much we can do. It all depends on me and you. Let me hear you sound your voice for the land. If you love this land, get up and show the world where you stand. This is our land. Now the country needs you more than before. This is our land. Where you want to stifle the country for? If you love this land. I hate anything that resembles corruption. I hate anything that resembles depression. I hate anything that will make this country fall. So rise and shine when the country's duties call.
Mike Swallow. King Swallow.
Hope you understand now I state my case. It is obvious, it is all of us, and we have to make haste to propel the country to its height with combination of plenty tact and fight. Some people do not decide to help, but they sit and line every day. They all intention to squeeze the nation and obstacle in the way. But late in the future, we must be the pinch. If we let this country go down inch by inch, we must keep the country on wheel and have the entire engine running still. That's how I feel. Let me hear you sound your voice for the land. If you love this land, get up and show the world where you stand. This is our land. Now the country need you more than before. This is our land. Where you want to stifle the country for. If you love this land, I hate anything that resembles corruption. I hate anything that resembles depression. I hate anything that will make this country fall. So rise and shine when the country's duties call. Let me hear you sound your voice for the land. If you love this land, get up and show the world where you stand. This is our land. I never sing anti-government song and cuss the country where I belong. It is my country first and then mine. Yep. Yep.
The late great King Swallow. My country first. Yeah, man. I'm speaking to Arthur. The man Stevenson Manners out of Queen City, Nevis. Just released his book there, Father and Son. Yeah, Brother Manners, there's some folks online want to know if the book can be purchased locally, and if so, where?
That's a very difficult question. Ideally, would have liked to be able to sit several days at the exhibition, which lasts for a month, and autograph books for persons, etc., etc. What I did, my daughters and other financial people crunched the numbers. For me to bring in 500 copies of the book will cost $12,000, and that does not include freight. Freight, I am told, should be put at 8% of the cost of the items that you're bringing in. So that will run me somewhere in the region of $15,000 or more just to get the books here. In light of that, I decided that I will go to the everything store, Amazon. It's where people go on a daily basis. They buy their phones there. It's the sports season. People go there to buy sports apparel for their children, etc., etc. Dresses for weddings, all that sort of stuff. I decided to not burden myself with bringing in books in stock. The matter of fact, there's a good feeling you get when you get a package from Amazon. You unwrap it and you touch the book, you smell it. You know, there's nothing like that feeling. Books deteriorate over time. So I'm not going to be having 500 books sitting in a storeroom somewhere. So I'm asking people to go to Amazon. I've said on every interview that I've done that that anybody who doesn't buy this book because it's a genuine division story is in some way unpatriotic. We looked at the pricing, for instance. The last book which came out by a division author was $34.99. And my folks said to me, let's set this book at $29.99. If, for instance, I'm to bring books in, it means that I'm paying the freight for every person who will get a book, which means I'd have to take the price higher. I don't want to do that, but I get that question every day. On Monday morning, somebody came halfway around the island to my gate, hoping to get a book. We're posting the link everywhere. It's on my Facebook page. I sent it to you on your phone. So please, for this commemorative booklet celebrating 50 years since Willett made the West Indies side, the only place to get it really is on Amazon. And as I said, that's something we do on a daily basis. I don't hear that complaint coming from anybody overseas. They send me messages, WhatsApp messages, oh, I just got my copy. It's arriving on Thursday. 10 minutes after the book was released, Cecil Farrell, who comes from about 200 yards from where I am, normally lives in St. Thomas, but is up in North Carolina visiting family. He bought his book right after, and he was due to get it on, well, today's Thursday. So please do that. It's the way that the business of the world goes today, going to Amazon, the everything store.
I could understand the question online, and I could understand your explanation, but I'm going to take it a step further for the mom and pops like myself who does not have the luxury of a US mailbox while living in Nevis or St. Kitts. So I'm going to throw something out at you, and you could take it and run with it, whichever way you see fit. I would suggest to you, for those individuals who might not have access, do not know how to handle the internet, who wants to support the cause, if you can try it from your end, see what it would cost to go online to get it shipped to you, and have folks who wants that opportunity. If there is a one-stop shop in St. Kitts or Nevis where folks can go, pay for the book in advance and get it shipped to them through that store, I think that will fix that issue, because I don't think it's not a situation where folks don't want to go on Amazon. Some of them just don't have that ability to get to Amazon. So in cases like that, we could try and accommodate in that area. What do you think about that?
Well, it's an excellent idea. My daughter is in the room, and she's an Amazon guru. She did tell me that a book at a particular cost, and I seek to get verification that people in Nevis will not have to pay for it in St. Kitts Nevis. Did you say that? Wait, if you, oh, she confirmed that once you bring it in, you will have to pay freight on it. So we have to look at ways and means to do it. I had made an approach to a business entity, suggesting to them that this is a cause, it's a national effort.
Yeah, but
this is not
cutting you off. But this book, from my view, is not a normal thing where you're bringing in a crate of egg to sell, or a car to sell, or food to sell. Somewhere along the line, we're speaking about tourism and small business opportunities and whatever the case might be. Somewhere along the line, your Premier Day Navy should be able to do something on the tourism or sporting to defer and try to help you with that cost to bring this book in.
Yeah.
We're talking about doing something for Willett and the cricketing stadium and the museum and all of these stuff. They should be able to do something for you in this regard.
Well, let me make that appeal, since you know you've got a global audience. I did approach one entity, casting this in the national interest, that this is something, as I said, this is not Spear. Spear has its Random House or whatever it is, who bear all of the costs, and then they make millions. That's not going to happen in this case. I wrote this book because I believe it is something had to be done, that it had to be documented. So I reached out to one entity who said that they will take it to their board to see how they could partner with me to bring this in. I have not heard back. And then the idea snapped in my head, why don't I go the Amazon route? So I'm saying this is not a money-making business. If there's somebody out there who would want to partner with me to bring those books in so that I can sit down, sign them. I've heard this from older people that said, I don't want to go on Amazon, or I can't go on Amazon. I want to get it from you. But it's a burden too far for me to bring in 15,000 worth of books to be sitting around waiting for them to be sold.
I understand. And I know people will say that there's e-copies out there, you could get the soft copy online, but I am one of the older folks who love my hard thing in my hand. So I'm going to point at a partner of mine there in Nevis that I know has the ability to assist you. The man there, brother Mikey Slack. I'm shouting up my boy Mikey Slack. This is an opportunity, Mikey, for you to do something for the good people of Nevis and St. Kitts on a whole, to assist brother Manners here in getting something going. You have various businesses there. Set up your internet where his daughter, whoever, can come in at a particular time of the day and folks can come and leave their monies and give them a receipt and make their orders. But make it happen. This is something that is within scope.
Yeah. Well, Mikey is a good friend of mine. He's been encouraging me for years to write the story of his father, Edmund Teddy Slack. His father was one of the foundation men in cricket and in fact played for Nevis. What happened in the early days is that you had somebody in each of the 5 parishes who had resources and could, help the other players in the village and so on. Edmund Teddy Slack did that in Brownhill. So he's one of the founding fathers of Nevis cricket. So thank you for pointing him to me, and keep pushing at him since he's a very good friend of yours. I'll see him tomorrow as well. And as we go out, because I have to grab something and I have another appointment at about 8 o'clock. If you need any help with Ginger, I can get him to do anything you want.
Well, I need him on stage on the 3rd of September.
Well, that's a hard one. Abernathy, my partner, has tried for a long time, but he messaged me 2 days ago and said, I'll do anything for you. You're my boy. As a matter of fact, he's very good with words.
Yep.
He ended by saying, man, you are Stevie, a wonder.
That's all like Ginger. That's like Ginger.
That's like Ginger. So if you want him on stage on September 3rd, tell him I'll be planning to come up if all things work well, and that I want him on stage. He's a calypso bard who has gifted Nevis some great songs, including Write the Right History. It's been an absolute pleasure staying with you for an hour and now 50 minutes. I must grab a bite and then get on to something else at 8 o'clock. But feel free, call me anytime. And if you need any assistance with Willett in terms of his numbers, his contacts, I'm seeing him on Monday at the exhibition. And also I'm in contact with he and his wife all the time. So absolute pleasure. And DJ, keep doing what you're doing. You're a man of my heart. Don't stop talking.
Before you go, there is a message here from Tessa Howell.
Mm-hmm.
She said she can volunteer Howell's realty office at as a drop-off point and pick-up point for the book if you decide to go the route that I suggested.
I'm taking your idea on board. Tessa is a great friend of mine, has helped a lot on this venture. And we're in touching distance, so I'll be talking to both Tessa and Mikey tomorrow.
I appreciate that. I'll let them know Morrishaw sent you.
Definitely.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir. And thank your daughter there for me. She's a very good engineer. Tell her thanks for setting you up and get things going here.
Man, if I didn't have her, I don't know what I would have done. As I said, December 31st, when I finished my manuscript, I handed it over to them, and they have been absolutely beautiful. Not only in looks, but in intellect and their execution of their duties. They love their pops.
That's great.
Thank you.
All right, it's a downer for you there, brother Manners. So we're going to drop this track by Swallow. We start something that we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to wherever the maturity bring us. But that idea to get the books into the island of Nevis for the locals there, try and look into that area. Okay?
Yeah. Touch me anytime, brother.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Dawn of a new day. The man Stevenson Manners. Book release. Father and son.
An uprising nation could never be a nation when undoubtedly it's heading in the wrong direction. We need cooperation just to solve the problem. Otherwise, things will remain the same. If we let frustration and hopelessness prevail, by all means, the nation is going to fail. With a little practical thoughts and some positive action, we will overcome our own division. We need a sense of purpose, a sense of community, and a welcome hope of sincerity. When we move that clouds that block the flow of progress and positively show we must gain success. Cost of the war wouldn't take us to a goal. It's cooperation, I'm sure, to bring the problems under control. Only when we start to see
great King Flying Swallow, dawn of the new day.
Hatred and suspicion, vice, poverty and crime would only put this place in plenty turmoil. A little time and patience, good public relations, bound to uplift the character of this nation. If we to determine nation's future, we must fight to get conditions better. Success must come either by force or by will, cause we have plenty room for improving still. We can't let this country's plan lay in ruin, cause all of us will end up suffering. It's a long, long way and rough road to travel, but we should be all willing and able. We can't let this country wait by day and sleep by night without gold. It's a monument for third world. Only when we start to see eye to eye, we will move to higher heights by and by. Only when we stop all this backbiting, we will have a true country progressing. When we work together to the stormy weather, when we file our motion into one direction, we will definitely be opening up our eyes to see that dawn, beautiful dawn of a new day. Some people real heartless in every way. They do nothing else but make this country black every day. Their efforts are fruitless, their post-production. They do not believe in righting the country's wrong. The past wouldn't make the future impossible if we decide to fight and struggle. Although Mother Nature turns against us sometimes, this country nevertheless should be on supply. We need that love that comes from deep within. If we should see this place improving, it's not by size this country will rise up all, or else it's a good chance for survival. Self-respect and pride along the way is a step forward, I say, to see the dawn of a rising day. Only when we start to see eye to eye, we will move to higher heights by and by. Only when we stop all this backbiting, we will have a true country progressing. When we work together through the stormy weather, when we file our motion into one direction, we will definitely be opening up our eyes to see that dawn, beautiful dawn of a new day.
Yeah, man. Sound of the late great, the King Flying Swallow. You know, I didn't realize time went out on us that much. It's just about 7 p.m. here in New York time, so I'm pretty sure it's about the same time there in the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. And I know these guys have their 2020 Carlisle, and Daily has their program on Thursday evening. So I will postpone Brother Hensley for another evening, and I'm going to drop out at this time and call it a night. But before I do so, I want to say good night to my sister there, Sister Brown, Pastor Brown and family. I want to also big up my son there, JefroyMorrishaw Jr. there in the LA area. Sister Jazz, how you doing? My daughter there, Rochelle and the kids there in Ohio. My sister Esther and Mokish there and the kids in Tortola. I want to big up my boy there, the man Jerry Hutchinson, the man Sugars there in St. Kitts, the man Twinkie, Catherine Morris, my boy there, Brother Lincoln, the man Lincoln, they call him DJ Rabuka. Everything good with you, my brother, everything nice. The dancing commission there, Brother Aston Williams, the man Hendrickson, Dams and crew. Well, I want to congratulate the lady there, Governor General, Sister Marcella Liebert. Welcome, welcome. I know you're going to be doing a good job. Congratulations. Also want to big up my boy there, the man Big JL. How you doing, my brother? The man Sam Conda, Dwyer Estefan, Larry Vaughan, Ira McMahon, the big lights. How you doing, Douglas Watley and crew? How about the tag puppy? How you doing? Everything good with you, Sister Mokish? Brother Mokish, Muffet Slack, Mikey Slack and crew. Want to big up my boy, the Big O, over there in the Texas area, and his wife, the man Mighty Pat, my cousin there, brother Kent Bernier, and Sister Pamela Bernier. How you doing? You know, we're getting ready to hit you guys in a bit for St. Thomas Carnival, so looking forward to see you guys. The man Kent, how you doing? How is Debbie? Brother Kent and Sister Debbie there in the Harlem area. The man Elvis Williams, aka the King Freddy, the mean green. And also the man there, the big KO, the big Charles, the man Brother Vic. How you doing? Everything good with you? Nice. Want to big up my boy, the Brother Benders over there in the Jersey area there. Folks, just before I forgot, Olivia's funeral will be next week, Friday. That's the 17th of February. That's next Friday, 17th of February at 9 a.m. It will be taking place at the St. Luke's Episcopal Church there in 777 East 222nd Street. That is on the corner of 222nd and Barnes Avenue there in the Bronx. That's when you're saying here Friday the 17th at 8:30 a.m. at St. Luke's. The address is 777 East 222nd Street, Bronx, New York 10467. But that church is right there in the corner of 222nd and Barnes Avenue. Also, don't forget next Wednesday, same place, same time, 6 p.m. St. Kitts time, 5 p.m. New York time. I'll have the Right Honorable Foreign Minister here, former Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, joining me. We'll be chatting about the affairs in St. Kitts Nevis from statehood to present. So I look forward to that conversation with the former Prime Minister, now Foreign Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We also have a chat coming up with the Honorable Attorney General as well. That should be coming up the following week, if not next week. As a matter of fact, I had a very good conversation with the Attorney General there last week, Thursday, and he confirmed to me and commit that he is the Attorney General for the people of St. Kitts Nevis and for the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis. He doesn't represent a particular political party. He followed the law and do what needs to get done. Though he's a part of the Labor administration, the law is what comes first. So for all of those you folks who are attacking left, right, and center, I ask that you give the Attorney General an opportunity to do his work and let his work speak for itself. I know the patch-up fella out there is on a mission trying to change history, but they used to say, ignore the noise. Well, let them keep talking, man. They got a lot of talking to do, you know. Tongue and teeth is friend again. For me, it was a joy as well as a disappointment to see the three of them fellas there in the opposition bench there Wednesday. These people have nerve to get up and talk in parliament like they are so honorable, and they are not honorable, you know. They are dishonorable people, dishonorable, disagreeable people. The Markup fella, the Farmer Hag, and that Shana fella. They're trying to change history. They cannot change history. The damage was done and the people make a decision. So I want him to understand that. I don't want to cut into Carlisle and Brother Daly's time and Tulu time this evening. So I'm going to cut it there for now, but I'll be back. If not later this week, we'll continue this conversation next week. People, in the meantime, in between time, take a listen to my good friend, former friend there, the late great, the King Aaron. This one is called Arise, Citizens. Just remember, the country belongs to all of us, not the politician, not one of them. I want to thank my boy, their brother Stevenson Manners, for making the time to come and hang with me this evening.
Reunification, building a brand new
let us reintegrate and correct all mistakes. Reunification, building a brand new nation. We'll move on together hand in hand. So arise, citizens, arise. The country is yours, all yours, serious.
Yes, that's the sound of the late great the King Arrow. So this country is yours, all yours. You know. Yes, Sister Agnola, Martin, I sent a message to my sister there. She said she'll reach out to you, so expect a call from her now to find you. Good night there to Sister Lioness Charles. How are you doing? Everything good with you? I want to say good night to Sister Cora Bennett as well. How are you doing? Sister Anne Farrell Smith, how are you doing? Good evening. How is things on your end? Sister Ivy Carty, the man Harville Carty, Vincent Davis, the man there, Brother Anthony Davis. How are things with you? Sister Tracy Powell, how are you doing? Tracy Jeffords. As I said, you know, next week, Friday, is the funeral of the late Olivia Dickinson. Will be taking place there at the St. Luke's Church there and 22nd on Barnes Avenue in the Boogie Down, Bronx. I also want to pick up my girl there, Sister Naomi Ward, Naomi Batcher, how are you doing? Sister Hazel Glassford, how are you doing? Everything good with you? Hazel, how are you doing? Everything good with you? All right. I want to also pick up my girl there, Brother D, the man, Brother Crazy. Everything good with you? Want to pick up Ambassador Queely there in the Morocco area. How are you doing, my brother? Everything good on your end? Sister Hazel Claxton, your continued contribution is appreciated. Sister Rosita Pontin, how are you doing? Everything good with you guys? Look forward to yet another Carlisle Paris, good evening. How are you doing? Everything good? Thanks for your compliments, my brother. Sister, brothers, and in-laws. I also want to take this time out, believe it or not. Today is my younger brother's birthday. The man Jean Paris celebrates birthday today, the 9th of February. I hope that you're making the best of it, but not overdoing it with the drinking. You know, I have lost many family members, 2 brothers already gone from my mother's side. It's just you and I that leave, and a sister. So try not to rush yourself off the face of this earth. Try to stick around with me for a bit. We still have a lot of work to do. Also, next Wednesday, I celebrate my birthday, the 15th of February. Look forward to reaching that milestone. If God grant me that opportunity, it will be nice. I'll be here celebrating with my foreign minister, the man Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, speaking about our history. As they say, this is Black History Month, and we have a lot of history, we have a lot to talk about. Again, I want to thank Brother Manners, Stevenson Manners, for blessing us here with his presence this evening. Great conversation. I want to thank the man King Ginger for his music, the man Bahaula, the late King Swallow and his family. I want to big up my boy Miko there in Nevis, the man Thaddeus Deposo, Everson Harrison crew. I want to thank all your folks who came online. Brother Ras there in Parsons in St. Kitts. The man cook up some serious goat water and cook up and thing there on Saturdays, bullfoot and things. So check him there. at the Backway Bar there in Parsons Village. Also, don't forget to check out my uncle there, Uncle Joseph, at the Garvey's Estate. If you're looking for some place to have a session, you want to keep a party, you want rooms to stay, you want to have a session on the outside, check him out and make sure you tell him DJ Morrishaw sent you. Also, don't forget my cousin there, Gloria Hutchinson at Smart Fit. She got a couple of locations, one in Navis there in the mall, one there in Keon and 4th Street, across from the gas station, and also the new location there on Central Street in the old Simaco building, right across from Skelec. So when you check out Gloria, just tell her DJ Morrishaw sent you, you know, and everything will be nice. She'll make sure she give you a lovely discount. Also, don't forget my partner there, right down on the Beffron there, doing his barbecue and stuff. As you enter the session there, you're gonna get some lovely barbecue, ribs, legs, pigtail and stuff. Just tell him that DJ Morrishaw sent you. I want to say good night to my cousins there in Anguilla, Stacia and Casilla. I want to big up my boy there, Otis. How are you doing? I want to big up the folks there at the Stanley's Center there in Sadlers. Don't forget to go and check out my boy, Brother Concert was up there. Keep an eye on him. I want to big up my boy Via Gala with Tio and crew. How about my cousin there, Brother Bevis Hutchinson, England? How are you guys doing? Well, we're gonna call it a night for now and see you next week, same place, same time, 6 p.m. St. Kitts Nevis time, 5 p.m. New York time, as we continue the conversation.